Wolf-PAC, founded by Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, maybe y'all know that. The candidate with most money wins 93% of the time. So it's not about ideas, it's about how much they can raise. And some people don't think money in politics is a problem, but you know, with all the problems that we have in this country and in this state, wouldn't you like to have them have their eye on the ball instead of spending over half their time grubbing for cash? Yeah. All right.
Now what we're seeing is unlimited amounts of corporate money being spent, clearly in contrary to the spirit of the Constitution of the United States, but also the laws of the state of Texas. And for hundreds of years in the United States and over 100 years in Texas here, our forefathers and foremothers had enough good sense to keep corporate money out of politics because they knew what would happen. The corporations would rule. We're gathered here today on this perfect sunny day to begin a movement that's going to take this Capitol by storm and is going to create a new American revolution. Now, we're not alone in this endeavor. 69% of the Tea Party supporters have said it's time to close this corporate loophole.
These new laws, together with Citizens United, are part of a coordinated campaign to make sure that any advances made by us, the people, through hard-fought organizing, education, and yes, voting, will not threaten the entrenched interests who bought you too big to fail banks, ranchers with their land condemned for a pipeline for dirty oil from Canada, multi-billion-dollar corporations with $0 tax bills, and so-called environmental regulators who stay silent as gas drilling and dirty coal burning poison our water and our air and put toxins in our children's bodies. They have a nice little racket going. And Citizens United is the key to making sure that it is never threatened. But we're here to threaten it, right?
We're gathered here today to begin to develop the support necessary to pass SCR 2, HCR 21, and a new resolution you'll hear about in a few minutes, HCR 25, which would call for an amendment to the Constitution and actually call for a constitutional convention to overturn this bad Supreme Court ruling. And nothing in my mind could be more exciting than us having another constitutional convention to fix a lot of the problems that this Supreme Court has caused us.
The framers of our Constitution created the most amazing and innovative form of government ever known. They took special care to ensure that no branch of that government could ever attain unchecked power. And yet they still anticipated and prepared for the possibility that the entire government might go off course and need correction by the people themselves. For that, they gave us Article 5 of the Constitution, which gives the people the right, through their state legislatures, to call for an Article 5 convention to propose amendments to the Constitutions themselves. I've been reading James Madison and Alexander Hamilton's notes from the very first Constitutional Convention in 1787. And it's clear that the framers' intent was Article 5 should be used. It's the ultimate check on power placed with the people. It is a core component of the Constitution. It is not an amendment. It is meant to be used when our representatives no longer represent us. And that time is now. Do we need to have a convention? Probably not. The model for victory is the 17th Amendment, which was the direct election of senators by the people. Before that, they were appointed by Congress, and it was a terribly corrupt system. State by state, the state legislatures called for an Article 5 convention, and when it got within one or two of it actually happening, Congress said, "Oh, Uncle, okay, you win, we'll do it." We believe that by forcing this, it's the only way that Congress will act, or that they will enact an amendment that is not completely weak, watered down, or full of loopholes.
Now, this isn't just a right or left-wing movement kind of thing. Not only are the Tea Parties in favor of it, but if you look back in history, Barry Goldwater said, we can't continue to allow corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money. It was Dwight Eisenhower who said, beware of the military-industrial complex and its expenditures. This has been a long-term problem, and it's the left and the right together that are saying it's time to end this policy.
So if you want to seize this moment, this special time, when more people than ever are aware of the effect of big money in politics and are outraged about it and want to do something, you must act strongly, you must act decisively, and you must act now. There have been 3 bills filed to overturn Citizens United. We have SCR 2 by Senator Ellis and HCR 21 by Representative Thompson out of Houston. You've heard of them. Both of these call on Congress to pass this constitutional amendment. We have another one, HCR 25 by my boss, Representative Burnham. We go a little harder. We actually we established that the state of Texas is officially calling for a constitutional convention, and under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, if 2/3 of the states echo this call, one will be convened to examine these issues. Let me emphasize, all these bills work together. Senator Ellis, Representative Thompson, or Mrs. T as we call her, Representative Burnham, we all work together. We're all longtime defenders of democracy and voice of the people. We support all of these bills. The legislature, it's a tricky thing. You never know which bill is going to move forward, so it's key to make sure that you support every single bill.
If we are to be successful, we have to work together, not just Wolf-PAC, Move to Amend, Coffee Party, Root Strikers, AFL-CIO, NAACP, Public Citizen, Progress Texas, and everybody else that's here. But we have to work with other people, a cross-partisan coalition, people that we may not have a single thing in common with except the complete conviction that money in politics has destroyed our representative democracy and will destroy our country. For some of us, it's Goldman Sachs and the Koch brothers that's the problem. For others, it's SEIU and George Soros. It doesn't matter whether the money comes from a source you agree with or not. Corruption is corruption. Says Professor Lessig, we must build a cross-partisan coalition, not bipartisan in that we all agree, because we don't agree. Cross-partisan in that it cuts across partisan lines. The divisions are great and they need to be overcome. But we here in Texas are in an unprecedented and historic position to literally save our republic because we know that's what's at stake. Other states have passed non-binding resolutions, Montana, Colorado, but none has passed anything that will let us, the people, retake our democracy. Texas is the first state that can actually back up a resolution with the muscle it needs to be acted upon. It starts here. It starts today. It starts with you in Texas. Imagine that. Let's make history.
You are the key for that groundswell of support, and we measure it in terms of co-sponsorship. The way that we win this is adding co-sponsors to this bill, and you can directly affect this by calling and emailing your legislators every day. Call the ones that you represent, call the ones that have already sponsored it, ask them to co-sponsor this thing. If you get 50 co-sponsors, people sit up and listen. If you only have 3 senators and representatives out there, no one's going to listen. This is your job. We need a big old load of co-sponsors. Now, these legislators are going to be dealing with a lot over the next couple of months. We got a record drought, we got crumbling infrastructure, some guys want to pass a tax cut for some reason. So you're going to have to cut through that noise. You're going to need to email your friends, your neighbors, your family, give them a link to the Capitol's webpage, give them the phone number to their representatives and ask them to call. That will get the co-sponsors, that will get the bill passed, that will get the Constitutional Convention, and that will get Citizens United overturned.
What we're asking you to do is to get active and to get after it, and we can make a difference. What it means is that every day, each one of you needs to do something to say it's time to pass these resolutions. Write a letter, call a talk show, ask one of your friends to do the same thing. I've been around for over 30 years, and what I can tell you is when people get active, the legislature will take action. And now's the time for us to make that decision and get moving, and we can and should pass these resolutions this session. Let's get after it. Let's get it done. Let's take our government back. Thank you all for being here today.